into the record.
Second reading of resolution number 17-54, a resolution adopting the 2018 through 2022 5-year capital improvement program, CIP.
Thank you. Mr. Holman?
Yeah, if I can have Kim put up the general fund summary. This can be found on page 1 of your CIP, but essentially this is the overview of the CIP. And if Elaine, you can, or Elaine, yeah. Kim, you can scroll down there to the bottom there. Yeah, that's fine. Really, the number that I want to draw your attention to is that ending balance number, which in 2018 is in the black, but in the out years, 19, 20, 21, and 22 is a negative balance. And that negative balance really is due to the fact that we have right now an inadequate revenue to pay for the different improvements that the capital improvement plan is recommending. So that will be something that we're going to have to spend some time on in our work session on October 2nd. The other slide that I wanted to draw to your attention is really the one regarding the Point project. And if you take a look at the I don't know, the 8th line down where it says city funds, this is noted in my budget message that we are recommending an allocation of $350,000 annually to offset the city's, to offset the local contribution for this project. That would, those are funds that would otherwise be used for local road maintenance. So consequently, you'll see in the capital improvement program under street improvements, there's about $150,000 available for local streets. So that's really, we wanted to display it this way because it's an obligation of the cities. The Point project is a very, very important project, but it's not one that, it's one that we have to contribute to. The other thing to mention regarding the local contribution is we have reached out to Delaware County. We have met with the county engineer. We're in conversations with them regarding our request for some sort of funding assistance for that project. But right now, that we can't count on what we don't have, so that's why we're showing this local contribution. We did have some time to spend with the Planning Commission last week. You probably saw the Delaware Gazette article regarding that meeting. And there was some just frank dialogue regarding the levy that we had on the ballot last year and the lack of dedicated funding for road improvements and how we address that. So really, if there's really one thing I'd like to spend some time on at the work session, it's really just to kind of talk about that issue and how we address it. And there's certainly a lot of opinion about what we could be doing differently with respect to a levy at some point in the future if City Council decides to do that. But it really has a lot to do with the capital improvement program and what's before you. All is not the glass is not half. The glass is half full, I would say, because while we do have road issue, transportation challenges. Fortunately, we have other areas of the city that other departmental areas, whether it's utilities or whether it's technology, where we're able to actually make improvements. So it's not like it's all doom and gloom. There are a lot of positives in this capital improvement program, and which we'll have some time to spend with you on that in a few weeks. With that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the capital improvement program. If there's anything that's come up, if your constituents have been asking for anything, and I do have Bill Farino's here today. This evening we did put a memo from Bill in the packet, which talks really about kind of the transportation demands of the city. This is really an updated memo that we provided last February when we were talking about this issue, and provides really just kind of an overview of what the requirements are for the city when it comes to our road resurfacing, road maintenance needs. So with that said, Bill, did you want to add anything? I know we had spent some time last week talking.
Any questions for Tom at this time?
You said the second is the first work session?
I'm sorry, Chris, that first Monday, and I think a couple of you may have had conflicts, I believe, but yes, the first Monday of the month. And then we also tentatively said, let's hold the third, because that would normally be Public Works if we have to. But yeah, that would be those two evenings.
We said 6 o'clock.
I think 6 o'clock is what you had asked us to look at. So that's what we'll set. We will spend some time that evening talking about economic development initiatives, what our possible partnership with Ohio Wesleyan University on the Entrepreneur Center, and some other initiatives as well. So I look forward to that conversation.
Okay. If no questions, move on to city manager report.
Yes, I will start by saying that I thought yesterday's horse parade was another outstanding, I tweeted that out, another outstanding Delaware tradition. And hats off to Diane Winters and her entire team that make that possible. It's a great event for the community. And I did we had some issues last year regarding some traffic on Lincoln Avenue, and I heard back from the constituent who called us last year, Chief, and he said it was a marked improvement. So whatever you did with respect to Lincoln Avenue in the car traffic was an improvement. So thanks on that. I know the BIA kicks off the Parade of Homes, and there's something that starts tomorrow with the Delaware County, but
It's been going on since last Wednesday, but you're
last
okay.
Wednesday. I'm sorry. There is a reception of some kind tomorrow that the BIA is hosting for that. The East William Street Improvement Project, which is the reconstruction of East William Street to add an additional lane. That's a significant transportation project, which is scheduled for 2019. We have begun the right-of-way acquisition phase. I sent to you today just a draft letter that will be going out to property owners. So you're just to be aware of that. If you have questions about that project, feel free to call myself, Bill Frein, or Matt Weber. Bill, did you want to add anything with regard to that project? I know it's been in the works for a while. Again, this is funded through a federal appropriation that the city received in the early 2000s, and
I think
with some WRPC assistance.
and if you have a copy of the letter, it's also indicating that the actual preliminary construction, including tree removals, a utility location, will also start at the beginning of next year as well. So all it's included in the letter with plenty of contact information for residents to go ahead and call us, and we'll meet them and give them additional details as needed.
Regarding the Delaware County Fair, Lee has set up, we'll be having different departments there over the next week. And we have a slot for city council, city manager on Saturday from 4 to 7. So if you care to join me, I'll be there. So if you're able to, I'll get the information out to you. Just stop by the booth. If you're able to spend an hour, half an hour, whatever it is. I'll post the entire schedule. We have the police department, public works department, the finance department. We're just taking the opportunity to, as we have in the past, just to talk about the city, and it's an opportunity to meet with city residents. So that will
Which Saturday, the first or the last?
the first Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, first Saturday. So that's the 16th, and I'll get a schedule out. I know, Mary, you'll be there a lot, but whether you'll have time to stop by the fair booth. Also, you'll recall that we participated in a lawsuit regarding Senate Bill 331. This was regarding regulation of cell towers, and the legislation, there's an appeal process involved, and the Central Ohio Mayors and Managers Group has requested some additional funding from the communities. For the city of Delaware, it would be about $3,000. We told them that's really pretty much our limit at this point. Darren, did you want to elaborate on that at all, just in terms of the suit and the complicated nature of this thing? It's
Well, as I mentioned when we passed the original, I guess, authorization or participation, anytime you have many different co-cities joining together, it's difficult to track bills and keep your hands around costs. But when we agreed to do it, we were thinking we were going to be the suit, but there are, I think, 4 other suits in different parts of the state, and they've complicated things because, well, our suit was pretty successful. I think Summit County's was less successful, and now they're appealing theirs, so we've got to kind of track that one in addition to our case and all the other ones. So I kind of predicted this when I said the first day I'm probably coming back here. So unfortunately I'm right, but we did get a successful result. I don't know how much Tom wants me to get into this, but in addition to following that appeal, our ultimate goal is to get a piece of legislation that we can live with. So I think the next phase is trying to work with the legislators to try to craft something with our input and get a seat at the table and have them listen to us that we can maybe both sides can live with. So I think that's where we would at least like to see any additional money that we might contribute go towards. But I think it's our recommendation. Like at this point in time, I won't put words in your mouth that we participate one more time, but after that we tell them we're not going to write an open checkbook sort of thing.
Remind me what we gave them the first time.
I believe it was $6,000. And so they basically come back and asked everybody, according to that formula, they had to give half of their original amounts. But they have already indicated in their request letter that they think it could be complicated and they might be coming back for more, which is why I think if we're not willing to do that, we should make it clear early so they don't count on that coming down the pike, if that's council's intention.
Okay.
Tom, is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're
that's
looking
accurate. That's accurate. Appreciate that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Jones?
I have nothing tonight.
Mrs. Keller?
Thank you for your work in putting together the beginning of the council meeting. It was very appropriate for the day, and I know that you had a huge hand in arranging it, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Browning?
Attended the Unity Festival, and that was very good. Thank you for setting that up. And I still appreciate the communications from Lee and Linda, the weekly updates of what's going on.
Thank you.
I have a couple things for Bill, maybe, I guess. I had a constituent ask me about crosswalks and was interested in asking if the things we got down at Wesleyan on Liberty Street might be available for. Number one was the Hayes Building, the crossing of Union Street there. Lots of cars parked and
Newland?
Union Street, where the Rutherford Hayes Building is, where the parking lot across the street. The cars park along there and people drive through there pretty quickly sometimes. So that was one location. Central Avenue at Washington is another one that's kind of famously, people go through there pretty quickly most of the time. And Central at the bridge.
East side.
Yes.
Bill, what's the approximate cost of those? Because I know we're installing some through a grant on Pennsylvania for the schools.
Right, the RFPs are about $20,000 for a set, or $10,000 if we buy the materials and install them ourselves. We are working with the schools right now to add an additional RFP installation on London Road at the crossing there to get children across to Woodward School. We have a list of several locations, including at least one of them you mentioned tonight, Mr. Rohr, on the East Central Avenue at the bridge. We can add additional ones on there. What we do is we run them through the process of prioritization. We have a number of other locations also on that list. We're also trying to evaluate too in terms of where they're effective. We've had complaints down on Union Street at the crossing there for the county folks heading over to the building. So we can add all those to the list, and unfortunately it's a matter of funding on a lot of these things. And the one with the school in London, the school at least looks like they're going to participate and pay for the cost of all the materials through their safe routes to school funding, and then Public Works Department will go ahead and get it installed. So at least that gets us one more. I'm glad to add additional to the list. And as City Manager Holman mentioned, with a CIP discussion, that's just one of the many things in my four-page memo that we could do more of if we had additional funding, if the community wanted to fund those kind of projects.
Another issue I had, and this is probably for Bill as well, but it's not a crosswalk issue, but it's one of my constituents that works downtown walks home on Franklin Street and between Winter Street and Central Avenue. There is an alley that comes out of the Chase parking lot headed westbound. And when you get to Franklin Street, there's a stop sign there, but because of the way that building The building on the south side is so close. When you're walking down that sidewalk, you can be right there and a car comes out, and it's just a dangerous spot. I don't have a proposed solution to it, but
Okay, we'll
it was
take,
raised as a concern to me that people walk through there all the time, and there's constantly cars popping out. And
so it's the folks walking on the sidewalk on Franklin and the traffic coming out of the alley.
And I
Okay,
just drove through there the other day, and you can't, when you're driving through there, unless you stop right there, because that building is so close to the sidewalk that
okay.
you
Is
pop
there a
out.
stop sign there, Kyle?
No.
At the end of the driveway, I think there is.
There is on the one going on to, I don't think there is on the one going on to Franklin.
No.
I think you're thinking the one going on to Winter. So maybe a stop something.
We'll take a look at
Wait,
those
what did you
issues.
say?
Is there a stop sign?
Yeah, there is a stop sign. I
There
thought you
is?
said, are there steps? No, there's a stop sign there.
Mhm.
It's just that if you're walking, as soon as you pop out, I mean, there's cars there.
It's almost like you have to put a stop sign on the sidewalk,
Yeah,
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 right?
a caution,
Yeah.
something on
A
the,
warning to the pedestrians.
Right.
seems to
But
be
yeah,
real dark right there too.
There is a stop sign there.
Okay, thanks.
And then I had coffee with Sid Schnars and Mary Rose, and they wanted me to plug the Bridges Out of Poverty class that's coming up on October the 6th at Andrew's house. It's free. I can get more information and get printouts and things, but it's Friday night from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then Saturday the 7th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a great program. If anybody can come, it's a big time commitment, but worthwhile.
Is this in October?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, October
Okay.
5th, October 6th, Friday night, 5 to 9, and then October 7th, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Thank you. Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Hollinger?
just a couple of things.
Okay.
Do we have is there a revised install date in September for those beacons now?
The RFPs in Pennsylvania, I would just talk with the ODOT, their contractor's just waiting on one part, and they still believe they'll be in by 1st of October.
And that will also be for on Troy at Bennett.
Same thing, yes.
Okay, all right. So typically before council meeting, I'll go out and drive around the city, just kind of looking at things. And coming down Houck Road tonight, and I think I saw this before the last council meeting, but I didn't make a note of it. I see that Ryan Holmes has popped up their nice little signs that we had them say that nobody could put up in the right of way. They're in the right of way on the west side, which it's very easy to see, you know, the street tree because we have the tree zone because we have the regular sidewalk there. And they're well within there. On the east side, and I don't know where our public right-of-way extends to because, of course, we have that multi-use path with mounding. But, you know, they put up a regular 4x4 post with a Ryan sign just off the road. And then just to throw it in our face, you know, there's a porta-john within about 2 feet on the west side of the road. Before you get to those Ryan signs, is back there where they're doing that new development on South Howell. So I mean, those are all just things that just, you know, need to be addressed. On a more upbeat note, also, a question, is the splash pad now closed for the year? It is closed, okay. I went down there and looked around. There's some kids playing soccer down there tonight. And I went by Blue Limestone, and Blue Limestone was rocking tonight. I mean, typically I go through there and there's 8 to 15 cars. Tonight there had to be 30 cars at least. Okay, there were 2 little tot soccer chasing the ball type soccer games going on. There were the Renaissance reenactors there with their swords and their night costumes, battling it out on the side. And the pickleball courts were full, both with doubles. And there were kids playing on the playground. So, I mean, there was not a space that wasn't being used tonight at Blue Limestone. It seems like that has gotten more and more and more use over the last couple of years. I know back when we had the dog park discussion, you know, people contended that park didn't get used, and I know for a time period it didn't. But I'll tell you what, it seems to be one of a very busy park for being the Victorian type of park that it is. And, you know, so.
That's a good point, because I know one of the recommendations we had for the basketball courts was for Blue Limestone, and I know the utilization of that park is up. And the question is tonight, if you had 2 or at least 2 basketball courts in there, both going, would that have been, I don't know, would that have, was it?
Well, you
Are we at
wouldn't
capacity?
have the soccer games then. You wouldn't
Because
have-
that's where those were
Yeah,
taking
because they
place.
were in the old baseball field there. So, but yeah, I mean, and there were some people over there doing whatever they were doing in the water there, fishing or whatever. So there were people on the dock. I mean, it was, and people parked all the way up at that upper picnic site. So, I mean, it's a very heavily used park, and more go through there, and I see that tends to be more of a common occurrence versus the exception.
Is anybody using
I
pickleball
don't-
courts?
Oh, yeah, they're doubles on both sets, so. And that, you know, for a while, that was only on Wednesdays, because they have a kind of Wednesday set aside. But yeah, they were jamming it out tonight, so.
Good.
But yeah, that's all I got. It's great.
Just one quick thing, Jackie, Kelsey and I went to Delaware Rotary today, talked about parking, and that was well received, and we met afterwards with Susie Bigler from Main Street. They're gonna help us do some outreach to our downtown merchants on some of the enforcement recommendations, so we get some feedback and further back to parking and safety. So, some progress on parking.
Good.
That's all I have.
I did an honor flight on Saturday. Again, my days were running together. It was fabulous. I took a 96-year-old gentleman who's at the boat. 84 veterans. This was our 83rd trip. So we've now taken 5,000 veterans from Columbus area to Washington, D.C. So it was a fabulous, really exciting. This is my 12th one, so I hope to make many, many more. I agree that the horse parade was just fabulous this year, and the fair's Saturday, so I'm just going to pray that the rain comes through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then clear sailing. My parents are in Florida, are safe and sound, and so is my brother, so prayers have been answered by all. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We have lots of students here that need documents signed. If each of you kids will come up, any of us that are on council, we will sign your paperwork. Okay? Y'all help me?
Yes.
Okay. No, so I have to do all. I'm
Madam
sure
Mayor,
you go.
is there anything left in executive session?
Yes.
I can have Tim turn off the.
Sure.
Council member. Council member. City manager.
How you doing?
Did you have a good time? You learn anything?
Yeah? You have animals? You have a dog?
Last name's Brown, I guess.
Is this like
You?
So you're a senior or where you school?
Thanks for being here. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah. Well, I don't think so. You can say that.
That's why it's
What did you ask me?
Did you make somebody make a motion?
No, not yet. Yeah, I was just seeing what the audience know. For the audience that's still here, we're going to go into executive session, so you guys can't stay. Nothing to love y'all.
Have a great night.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.